I muted myself. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Syphtacon. Um, Let me take out my headphones. Okay. This is a session for how to mic up for success. It is a session where I'm going to show how to use a microphone. How I use my microphone. I am by no means an audio engineer, but I just want to share how I use my microphone to get the best effect from the microphone. So before we start, I would like to first give an acknowledgement of country. In the spirit of reconciliation, Syphtacon acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to the land, sea, and community. We pay our respects to the elders, past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples here today. Okay, so with that, let's give it a start. Okay, so basically, I want to share how I use my microphone and how you can use a similar kind of microphone and how you can edit the sound to get a professional sounding sound. For this session, I've actually configured my microphone to have no add-ons whatsoever. And then in the end, I will show some software on how to get the editing to work. So you can get a before and after. So this is my raw voice. My voice is going straight into the microphone, straight out, and it's broadcasting. Okay, I'm going to be using a headset because if I hear myself, it's going to echo really bad. And I need to hear myself for this session. Generally, I don't use a headset, but today I will be using a headset. You don't need to use a headset with a microphone, but I'm going to do it for today. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so the first, I need to go through a simple science lesson. Okay, give me a sec. I am adjusting some of the audio level. Okay, so the first lesson is what is sound. While I am going through this entire session, the chat window is enabled. You can ask me questions anytime you want, either via the chat window or via Slack. It's fine. There is a bit of a delay. I put a bit of a delay for the stream. So if you do type a question, I'll be able to see it, but it'll be like 20 seconds later because the delay is very good for the bandwidth. So I've set a delay. Just type any question you want. I will get to it eventually. I'll try to like group up the questions and answer it towards the end. Okay, so on your screen, you can see the good old science lesson here, what is sound. So it's important to understand just a little bit about what is sound. So sound is a pressure wave. So as the wave moves in the air, the pressure of the wave is what we call sound. What's important about the science of sound is the frequency. The frequency is the cycles. And the amplitude. Amplitude is how large the wave is. That is the intensity and the volume. That's our key to editing sound. It is basically the frequency and the volume. So we measure the volume via the decibel scale. The decibel scale is not a real scientific measurement. There is no such like value in nature called a decibel. It is a range which we use as humans to kind of understand how loud sound is. Each number on the decibel scale is actually not linear with the other numbers. They actually form a scale. What's important is that in digital audio, 0 is the actual playback of the sound that is coming out. That is 0. And every other number is either add or deduct from the 0. That's not important now, but when I get to the editing, it will become very important. So just keep it in your mind that decibels is what we are going to use to measure how loud the sound is. So the first thing we're going to go through is my setup. What do I have? Okay, so my microphone over here, let me just put some additional background sound for that. Okay, so give me a sec as I edit my microphone. All right, okay. So I am using a Blue Yeti USB microphone, the blackout. Okay, give me a sec. I've got a bit of a reverb here. Okay, so I'm using the Blue Yeti USB microphone. So what this microphone is what we call a condenser microphone. There's a lot of kinds of microphones you can get in the market. I want to show you the condenser variation and possibly a bit of the dynamic range variation. I'm not sure about the time. If I run out of time, I'll just stick to the condenser because the dynamic range is a bit harder to use. So what's the right kind of microphone for you? This is very hard. It truly depends on your voice. It truly depends whether you breathe from the diaphragm, whether you breathe from the top. There's all kind of variations, but what I would do is I'll just show you a few kinds of microphones that work, and we'll just pick one kind. Dynamic microphones is what you use when you sing. You know, when you sing a song, you use a dynamic microphone. That's what you get in the karaoke. That's what you get when you sing. These kind of microphones work because your voice goes into the microphone, it moves a coil, and then it works. But if your voice is weak, if you don't have a good strength in your voice, this microphone is not going to work. If you sing a song, you need to put energy into the mic, and then it'll work. If you're speaking over Zoom and you're putting that energy into the mic all the time, you're gonna hurt your voice, and you're gonna hurt your diaphragm. You're gonna get a very coarse voice. So I don't recommend it. I don't want to say don't use it. If you have one and you can get it to work, go ahead. I don't use a dynamic range microphone on daily work because you can hurt yourself. The other kind of microphone is the condenser. That's the one I'm using. This Blue Yeti over here, the one that I'm using, this is a condenser microphone. Let me just make the screen a bit larger. I think you can see the top of it. I can't really like move the camera to get like the back of it, but it is actually this microphone over here without the stand. It's just taken out of the stand and it's attached to another stand. These kinds of microphones known as condensers, they work in a different way. What happens is that there's a capsule inside, and the capsule is charged. It's a capacitor inside. Current goes through the capacitor and it picks up sound. It's very, very sensitive because current is going through the capacitor to pick up the sound. And because it is so sensitive, you don't need to put a lot of effort into your voice. Like, you don't need to like really speak very loud into it. Like now, I'm just speaking at this distance. If I lean back and speak, you can still hear me. You can probably hear all the noise in my room as well, in the car, in the plane and all, but that's how it works. These condensers are very sensitive. The capsule in the condenser, it can turn. You can actually turn, and there's a knob at the back. Let me show you the knob. I'm not so sure JB will have it, or they don't have it here. They just call it pattern selection. And what these patterns do is that they actually block the noise to try to help you with the background noise. So in my case, I actually have configured this microphone over here so that the back of the microphone over here, there's actually no sound pickup from this side. It's only picking up from this side. So if I move my hand, you can actually hear that my voice is changing, like but if I do the same here, no difference. It's because the capsule can actually turn to block noise from different directions. So the amount of configuration in the capsule is what they call a pattern selector, which is this thing over here. It's something they use to kind of like differentiate between the brands, the kind of condenser microphones is the pattern selector. You want to get a pattern selector called a cardioid selector. Okay, the cardioid selector looks like this. It's like a heart shape, or some weird looking heart shape. And what you want to do with this weird looking heart shape, it's some kind of weird looking heart shape. You want to be on this side of the heart and you want to speak into the microphone. You just want to pick it up on one side, and this is called the cardioid pattern. It's probably the best one for noise cancellation. And when you have the microphone working like that, what you can do is that you get sound coming in from one direction. However, when I speak, like if I speak, my voice is hitting the front of the microphone. It's like bouncing on the front. If I say, if I use a plosive like P, the air from my voice, the air from my mouth actually hits against the front of the microphone. I'll just try to show you. Okay, now cover your ears a bit. It's going to be pretty bad. Peter Parker picked a pack of pickled peppers. You see, it hits the front. So what you want to do is you want to try to protect the microphone. And what we use is a pop filter. So there's a few kinds of pop filters. You want to get one of these ones. Okay, so I have a pop filter over here. Okay, this is a pop filter. What it does is when I speak, like it blocks the sound. So Peter Parker picked a pack of pickled peppers. The air is not hitting the microphone. It's hitting this thing. So this is called a pop filter. You want to get one of them, but I don't use this one because it blocks my face, and it has to work somewhere about here. So I don't use it. I use a different kind of pop filter, which is like a sock. So let me just switch to that. So it's like a sock. So sock pop filter, there we are. I use these ones, the ones that look like a sock. They are not as good as other pop filters, but it kind of works. It doesn't block me. So you want to get one of these kind of socks to protect the condenser. If you're using a dynamic range mic, like this one, dynamic microphones, you don't actually need a pop filter. You need to go for training, and you need to learn how to control your voice, and that's very difficult. If you're a singer, by all means, dynamic microphone, greatest thing ever. But if you're like me, just playing around with a microphone, just using it on Zoom, don't go with a dynamic microphone. It's really hard to use. Now, there are other kinds of condensers which are smaller, those who fit on your back, those who fit on cameras. They all are basically the same thing as these big condensers. There's nothing really different about it. It's just whether it's a condenser with a capsule or whether it's a dynamic range that makes the biggest difference. Now, you got your condenser, you mount it on a table, the whole thing. Yes, you are right. I'll show you microphones that come with pop filters. This Stadium brand from JB Hi-Fi comes with a pop filter. There we are. It's just added on top. That's it. There's nothing fancy about it. Generally, if a microphone has a built-in pop filter, it's going to be annoying if it blocks too much, and it's going to be annoying if the pop filter kind of like it doesn't really work. So usually the microphone and the pop filter is separated so that you can pull it out. So like in my case, because the big pop filter works really well but it blocks my face, I'd rather use the small one. I can just pull it out. So usually you won't want to get a pop filter with a microphone. You want to get the microphone separate with a pop filter to suit your taste, because it doesn't really fit that well. Okay, now you got a pop filter, you got a microphone. You put it on a desk, you start using it. When you look at the wave, you're going to find a lot of bumps. And the reason for that is your table, your room vibrates. Everything vibrates. And the reason is that vibration, unless you have dampeners everywhere, is going to be picked up by the microphone. So what you need to do is you get a stand. Okay, these kind of small stands, they don't dampen anything. Every single tappity tap of the computer is going to go through the stand, and you're going to get all of that in your microphone. You don't want to do that. So what we usually do is we get a microphone boom arm. So I'm using this arm, the Rode PSA-1. So these arms, what they do is they separate the microphone away from the source of the vibration so that you can mount it on the end of your table, or you can mount it on a stand. Mine is actually on a stand. I have a little clamp over here. And you can try to reduce the vibration because you're holding the microphone at a distance and you're pulling it towards you. So that way, if you are tapping on the keyboard, you can just separate it so that the vibration from your keyboard doesn't go into the mic. You'll see this a lot in the radio station. If you go to a radio station, you see all the microphones come from above or they come from the side. That's what the audio engineer wants to do. He doesn't want the vibrations in the microphone. Give me a second, I'm just reading a question. That's a good question, Viren. Those are a different kind of microphone. They are called I think they are called a Laravel mic. A lavalier mic. It's a different kind of microphone. It's not a condenser or even a dynamic range. It's its own thing. What I'll do is I'll try to find some information on these kind of microphones, the ones that you put in your ear. These are like really tiny microphones. The difference between these ones is they don't have good pickup. Their pickup is very close. Like if you put the microphone a bit further, it will stop working immediately. So that's the major difference between these kind of small microphones. They only work on your head. Yep. So back to the arm. That's why you need an arm. Now, technically, you can put the microphone on the world's heaviest table. So you can probably like mount your table into concrete or something like that. No, actually concrete is a bad idea because your house vibration is going to go through the microphone. Don't mount your table into concrete. But you can try to do things like that. But if it doesn't work, you get one of these things. Microphone shock mount. Okay, so these things, they're known as shock mounts. Shock mounts are these mounts where you know that there's going to be a lot of vibration. They're going to hold the microphone in place. So I'm not using a shock mount because my arm is further away and it works fine. But if I were to bring the microphone closer to me, or if I were to use my other table, I'll need to add the shock mount, because the shock mount, without it, you can hear all these sounds. Like all these sounds you can hear. It will just be terrible. It will be terrible all over the place because it will just be vibrating. So you need the shock mount to try to hold it in place. And you'll find this in a lot in actual if you go to a radio station, you will find a lot of shock mounts because their tables will be vibrating all the time. If you put computers on your table, the fan in the computer will actually vibrate your table. Same with the TV, same with nearly all electronics has got some kind of vibration. So you must eventually invest in shock mounts, in boom arms and all these things to try to get the noise down. Now, the microphone itself helps. They do have gain options, like this blue Yeti over here. It has a gain button. Let's see if I can see that. Oh, no, it's not this one. It's the one at the back. Oh, no, not this one. Oh, they're not showing the picture of the gain. Anyway, there is a gain button. And what gain buttons do is they increase the amount of current that is going through the capsule. I don't recommend using the gain button. The reason is that if you turn the gain anything but 0, you're going to pick up more noise. If your room is nicely padded, you've put a lot of protection in your room, the noise in your room is very low, go ahead, turn that gain up. But if your room is not properly sealed, if you turn the gain up, even the wind, even me doing that in the air, is going to pick it up because it is extremely sensitive. So you can't really use the gain that much. Put the gain very low to reduce noise. Noise reduction is kind of like the most important thing you have to do. Okay? So that is, in a nutshell, what exactly is this microphone. Now, there is a little bit more to do with microphone sound, which is, let me just get out of this screen, which is the shape of the patterns, okay? So the cardioid mode is what you want to get in your microphone. You can get microphones that only have one mode, where the capsule is a particular shape, or you can get a one that rotates. If you get the one which is one shape, you want to get the one that says cardioid. And cardioid mode means that when you speak, it's only going to pick up in one direction. There are other modes as well. Stereo mode is where the capsule turns and it picks up in two directions. What you do is you put it on a table, you have a person on your left, a person on your right, and when they both speak, the microphone picks it up. This technique means that one microphone can be used for two persons. Now, generally, if you have two microphones, just say I'm sitting here and I have a microphone and you have a microphone and I speak, my voice goes through my microphone and yours. And when you speak, it goes through yours and mine. So both microphones must be connected to a matrix that cancels it out. If not, you're getting reverb. If you put one microphone in the middle with stereo, that doesn't happen. So the more larger microphones will allow for two people to speak in one microphone because it's simpler to just put that mic in the middle. So if you're doing a podcast with another person, a stereo microphone in the middle works fine. Omnidirectional and bidirectional are both variations on the stereo. Omni just means that the capsule turns and picks up everything. That's when, just say you're playing a song and there's a drummer, there's a guitarist, you've got a whole ensemble there. You want to put one microphone in the middle to pick up just the ambience. That's what the omnidirectional is for. It has no preference on any direction. It's just going to pick up everything. You can't use it for daily speech because what will happen is, as I'm speaking into the mic, my voice is going in here, my voice is hitting the TV and it's coming back. So my screen is a TV. That's going to break the omnidirectional. So omnidirectional is only used when the scenario where you want to pick up the ambient of the whole room. If you don't want to do that, don't use omnidirectional. I don't know what bidirectional is for. I've never used it before. I think it's exactly like stereo mode. I don't know the difference. You probably won't use it. A little bit about the specifications. These numbers, they do have meaning. So the resolution is the kilohertz or the total amount that it will capture at any given time. So there's a bit of science about it, and we gotta go through just a little bit of science. The human ear can pick up to 22 kilohertz. Okay? Any audio that a person speaks is actually not in the megahertz range. It's all in the kilohertz range. Human ears is somewhere around 22 to maybe 25 kilohertz. Some people can claim to be more. I don't believe them. 22 is probably the limit. So in the microphone, as long as the microphone can pick up anything above maybe 25 kilohertz, it's fine. All microphones are fine. The reason they have 48 kilohertz is because they can pick up instruments as well. So if you're using a microphone for your voice or using it for instruments, the voice version doesn't need to be as good. That's a bit paradoxical. You think that a human singing, you need to get the best mic. No, actually it's not true. Musical instruments need the best mic. Human voice is less. Unless you're Mariah Carey and you can probably raise it up, you don't need that good a microphone for your voice. What makes better audio? Actually, truthfully, my entire talk could be one sentence called learn to control your voice. But like me, I can't control my voice. I'm sitting on the desk, my diaphragm is squashed, so I gotta use technology. But optimally, if you train and you practice your voice, you can use even a bad microphone and sound good. Okay? So the resolution is probably the most important thing. All the other settings, don't worry about it. They are fine. The weight, this is important. The heavier the microphone, the harder it is to get an arm. And the reason for it is that the arm over here, these joints at these corners here, they get loose. And if your arm is not certified for that microphone, it will topple over. And that's a thing that will happen. So some of the arms, like the Rode PSA1, these are hardened. These joints here are hardened. When you move it, it moves. But when you leave it alone, it stays exactly there. That's what you want to do. You want to get the arm for the microphone. You don't want to do it the other way around. You don't want to get an arm first and then get a microphone later, because if the microphone is too heavy, the arm's going to fall. Or if the microphone is too light, it's going to flip up. And that's it. It's going to ruin your microphone. Don't drop a microphone and don't get the arm to drop the microphone. Okay? So that, in a nutshell, is how you buy a microphone, or how you get a microphone to do things. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually give a demo of how to edit the sound coming from the microphone. Okay, so let me just take out my headphones and switch to Audacity. Okay, so for the editing, there is two concepts here for editing. So there is linear editing. Let me just see if I can linear. Yes, the Nyquist limit is correct. That's why CD audio is actually perfect. If anyone ever said cassettes and analog audio is better than CD, they're lying. CD is actually perfect because of the Nyquist limit. Okay, so with audio, there is linear editing and non-linear editing. Linear editing is when you invest in all the audio equipment so that when the audio travels from the microphone, it just gets edited along the way. I can't show you that right now because I need to set up my camera and all that. It's very difficult. So I'm going to show you non-linear editing, which is I'm going to capture my voice and then edit it. The concepts are the same, but the difference is in non-linear editing, if you do the editing live, it will cause delay in the audio. And if you have video and audio and there's a delay, then you'll see someone on the camera and suddenly their voice is coming out later. That's dead. So there is a difference, but I'll show everything in software. You can emulate this all in hardware if you wanted to. So for the software, I'm just going to use one software which you can get on nearly every single operating system in the world, which is Audacity. I put a link in the description for Audacity, and you can just get it. It's a free editor. I am not going to use all the features of Audacity. I don't need to, but I'm going to use the capability to clean the sound, and I'm going to show you how the sound looks like. Okay, so let's just switch to Audacity really quick. Give me a sec, and switching. There we are. Okay, so this is Audacity over here. Okay. The user interface is pretty basic. I'm using the Windows version. You can use the Mac version. Means nothing. It's the same thing. So the Windows version, you get these big buttons up here: pause, play, stop, back, forward, record. Doesn't really mean anything. And then you get the levels over here. This is monitoring. Monitoring is very important. So I'm going to click monitoring. Okay. What exactly is monitoring? Now, when you speak into a microphone, you can't hear what the microphone picks up. So when I was using the headphones, that's what I was doing. I was using what they call a monitor channel, where I was listening to myself. This monitor, that's exactly what it's for. is to hear the sound in your room, is to pick up the sound. And if I keep quiet, the audio does not go down to 0. It's going down to bass noise. The numbers here, this is decibels. Each one of these is decibels and is going negative. The reason for that is simple. 0 is the audio level of my TV. 0 is always the output level. Every decibel is below that. So -6 means whatever the player, the speaker's audio, minus 6 decibels. If -18, it means the player minus 18. So digital audio is always stored this way so that the playing device gets to choose. So what is decibel 5? Nothing at all. That's called clipped. It gets cut because there's no way to store audio above 0. So if I speak into the microphone, you can see that the slider is moving. And every time it goes to this red part over here, this is because this level over here is good. That's the good. The green is not good. Be careful with the scheme that is used. For some reason, green is not good. It is actually red. Red is good. So when the sound hits the peak, this is the good part of it. When the sound is at the bottom, this is the soft part of it. So what we want to do is we want to move this slider. This is the microphone recording volume. We want to move the gain of the microphone, and we want to move all the sliders to get this level to be up. However, if we change the gain of the microphone, we pick up the noise. So if I keep quiet for a couple of seconds, you can hear the noise in my room. So the noise in my room is -54. That's pretty okay. That's pretty okay. It's just I've got one fan running on one of the computers, and it's pretty okay. If the kids are around, then it's not okay. It'll probably go up to like -30 or something. But it makes a difference. If the sound is very high, you need to get a quiet room. It's not going to work. Okay? There's only so much you can do. Okay? These bars over here, these are all just the settings of what I'm recording. I'm using the microphone and I'm outputting to a docking station because of my equipment at the back. You might just want to choose to output to whatever speaker you want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to capture some sound and I'm going to show you what it looks like in the wave. We're going to clean it up, and then finally I'm going to show you how to get the same cleanup using hardware, and you can do it inline. Okay, so let me record some sound. So I'm just going to say, how now brown cow. Simply. Okay, let's do it. How now brown cow. How now brown cow. Okay, so this bar over here, I'm just going to stretch it up. This is the signal that is being recorded. I'm going to switch to decibels. Linear means something not really that useful. So I switch it to decibels, and this is the peak. 0 is 0, that's what's coming out of my speaker, and everything below it is until -60. This is the limit of my capture, and it's actually mirrored. It's a mirrored signal. So anything below this part is useless. It's actually it's the same thing. You don't have to look. There are 2 bars to it because this microphone is stereo. The computer is actually picking up 2 independent parts of the signal. You don't need to care about stereo for human voice. You don't have stereo. It doesn't exist. Your voice comes out one time. If you had kind of like you're playing a musical instrument, yeah, stereo works. You can have a left and a right. But if you're speaking and you have a left and a right, something's gone wrong. It's always one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch here. I'm going to switch to multi-view. So what multi-view does over here, let me just see that again. Yeah. So if you go to track, now there is a screen that appears under track. My capture software is not capturing it. That's fine. If you get Audacity and just click on the track, you can switch the mode. I just want to show you the mode. Multi-view means that it's going to show another graph for the noise. So this spectral graph is kind of hard to explain what exactly this thing is. But what you will use it for is you want to find noise. This is noise in here. This is all noise in here. So I'm going to play back this signal. What we're going to do is we're going to clean this signal up. And after we clean this signal up, we're just going to play it back and you're going to get a much better sound. Okay, so let me just play this. While I play this, I gotta mute myself because the sound is gonna come out of my system. It's gonna be picked up by the microphone and it's gonna ruin everything. So let me just mute myself and play this back. How now, brown cow? How now, brown cow? Okay, so it played back the sound. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna clean this up and then we're gonna play it back. So the first thing I'll do is I will duplicate the sound. Sorry. Let me just duplicate the sound. This is gonna be my before and after. That's what I'm gonna do. So this is gonna be my original sound, and I'm gonna turn it off. I'm gonna mute it because I don't hear it. So the first thing we do with the sound is we want to clean it up. Okay, so how do we clean it up? Is we use something called a noise reduction, which is here. There is an option called noise reduction. So let me just go ahead and open it. Noise reduction over here. Sec. Okay, so there we are. I have edited my capture software so that the screens look bigger. They don't look that big on the actual screen. So if you see that it's getting a bit like corrupted and cut off here, that's because of my editing of my video software. Audacity doesn't actually look like that. It's because the screens are just way too small for broadcast. So I just made it bigger. What you want to do with noise reduction is you want to clean up the remaining of the noise. That's this part over here, this vibration over here. This is actually noise. So how do I do that is I select the noise over here like that. I go to noise reduction. I click this button, get noise profile. What that does is it tells Audacity that's the noise part. I'm going to use that to wipe out the noise from the rest of the signal. So then I select the entire signal. I go back to noise reduction and I say, okay, these numbers here, you can play around with it. Noise reduction level, the sensitivity, the smoothing bands. There's a whole science about that. Skip it for now, just press OK. And what happens is all the noise here is gone. If you are using physical hardware, you'll have to figure out how to tune that yourself. In Audacity, I can just say, study the noise and do it. So that's why I like to teach this way. It's much easier. So now when I got the noise down, I said, how now, brown cow? Not too bad. But sometimes when I speak, I make this popping sound. Pop, pop, pop. Like Peter Parker. P. The pop sounds, they're going to damage the signal. So what we want to do is we want to run something called a noise gate. So a noise gate is a kind of like a filter where it's going to just cut some of the noise out because I know that that is not my voice. That is just the popping sounds. So I have a noise gate set up here. Let me just run the gate. Okay. Whole bunch of options here. The threshold, you notice that they all say dB. That's because the majority of things are measured as decibels. So I'm just going to run the noise gate. And we see that, it just flattened the signal over here. That's correct, because that's what is picking up as the tapping sounds and the popping sounds and the wind from my mouth hitting the thing. It's picking up all that and it's just going to wipe it out. So now this signal is actually clean. If I play it back, it will sound different to me. But as it goes through the compression, goes through the stream, gets sent to YouTube, you're not going to hear the noise anymore and you're not going to hear the difference. So I'm not going to play it because you're probably not going to hear the difference. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play, just give me a second. I need to configure something. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I am going to play, I'm going to do more editing and then I'm going to play the sound and you're going to hear a before and after. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce the concept of a compressor. Okay. In computer science, a compressor compresses files. In audio, that's not what it does. A compressor is a filter or a piece of hardware that takes the softest part of your sound and the loudest part of your sound and squishes them together. The reason is when people hear, if they hear you speak softly like that and then speak loud like that, the difference is annoying. So we are kind of accustomed to a flat sound. That is what makes the radio quality sound. It's actually the flatness. That's the key point. If you have a very baritone voice or a very high voice, it actually isn't that much of a difference. But what makes it really bad is the voice goes up and down. That's bad. So because of that, we use something called a compressor. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn on the compressor here. There we are. The compressor has a whole bunch of options. It has a threshold. The threshold is at which point does it start compressing. The noise floor is the lowest end of the sound. That's the point where it's just going to go. Anything below that is useless. It's not going to even look at it. Ratio, attack time, and release time. These are audio engineering concepts about how much of the compression to apply. So when I apply the compression, it's going to squeeze the sound down. So what I do is I click this button called Make Up Gain to bring it back up. So what I'm doing is I'm flattening the sound down, and then I'm bringing the whole thing back up so that the difference between the loudest part and the softest part is less. Now you can play with this based on your voice. A female voice probably has a longer range, a male voice probably a tighter range, but you choose how you want to do it. The major difference between a studio microphone is that the hardware of the microphone does this automatically. That's what makes studio microphones very expensive. The hardware does the compression. So I'm just going to go OK. And you can't really see what's happening because it's not the volume that is changing alone. It's changing a lot of things. But what it's done is it has brought the wave closer. So if I zoom in, I'll see that the wave here is much closer. And it will make sure that the loudest and the softest sounds are close. If the range of your natural speaking voice is already very good, good for you. That's a radio-friendly voice. Okay. Now, because of the way this microphone works, my voice, the bass is lower and the treble is high. And the reason for that is it's the way the microphone works. So what I usually do is I do something called filter curves. A filter curve is an edit where you're pulling the sound because you know that you want to compensate for the microphone or you want to make some changes to your voice because of the way, like I'm sitting down here, so not a lot of air is coming out. So what I do in the filter curve over here is I go to the filter curve and I want to pull all the signal, which is 100 hertz or below. I want to pull it up. I want to make it louder so that it counteracts the metallic sound coming from the microphone. And for the treble, anything that is above 4000 hertz, I want to do the same thing as well because I think that the top of my voice is a bit lacking. So you can play around with the filter curve. There's no rules about how a filter curve works, but generally what you want to do is you want to change the levels of the sound. So I'm just going to run the filter curve over the sound. Okay. Now, it would have changed the sound. I'm going to play it back. I'm going to play the old version, and then I'm going to play the new version. And you tell me if you can hear the difference, okay? Okay, so let me mute myself, and I'll play it. How now, brown cow? 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 Okay, so I hope you could have heard the difference. There is a subtle difference. The volume is more full, the bass is more full, the treble is more full. What I would also do, in this case, because of time constraints, I'm not going to do is I'm going to normalize the signal as well. Normalization is where you want to pull the signal down if it crosses the threshold. Because this signal is very short, I'm not going to bother normalizing. Normalizing is when you have a really long signal and it goes up and down and up and down and up and down, and you want to pull it all together. You can do a normalize. And then finally, there's also reverb that can be added if you want to get that more of the radio-friendly sound. That's a bit more difficult to set up. So compression, Cleaning the signal, compression, and filter curve seem to be the three that really work, especially for if you're just editing at home. I recommend these three. I use these three the most. Normalization and amplification and all, sometimes I do it. If I see damage in the signal, I would do it, but I generally won't do it all the time, kind of thing. Okay, so I hope you have heard that there's a difference. Now, all this editing that I'm doing, this is all in software. You can't do this live because it just takes too long when the software runs. So when you do it live, what you can do is, if you have a very fast computer, you can actually get filters for your operating system. So let me just switch to that really quick. Okay, so if I go to, so I'm using this software here called OBS. I'm using this right now. Due to the way OBS works, I can't show you OBS because you'll go in a loop. If I show you OBS, then suddenly it will loop around and go nuts. So I'm using OBS Studio, and within OBS, you can do audio filtering. And what you do in the audio filtering for live is you do the same thing I just did. You put a noise filter to get rid of the noise. You put a noise gate to get rid of all the pop sound, pop, 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 pop. You put a compressor to compress the sound. And then finally, you put a filter curve to overcome anything that you don't like. And then you normalize the signal, and then you send it out. And that, in a nutshell, is how radio sound works. But everything they do in the studio is hardware. They buy the hardware mixer that does the exact same thing. The filter curves is exactly that big mixer box that they have where they move the sliders. That's a filter curve. And the compressor and all, these are all just hardware options. So that's, in a nutshell, that's how I use the microphone. We've got 10 minutes left. So if there's any questions, I'll take questions. If not, I might just ramble on and on. I mean, this topic you can go on for like hours upon hours. Definitely spend time editing the audio. If you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong with it. So just spend time. I myself have edited hundreds of hours worth of audio. There is no right, there's no wrong. You just gotta do it. If you're streaming, it's even worse. You can't hear yourself, but just give it a go. The final thing that I can show is, I'll just show you the last part, is how do you save this? Okay, so saving audio, don't think about this saving raw. There's no such thing as saving raw. Raw means absolutely nothing. The signals, they are in the kilohertz range. Even if you compress it with MPEG, even if you compress it with MP3, no difference. Choose the audio that matches your transmission system. So what I mean is, if I go to, just say I want to use YouTube. Okay, so YouTube encoding standards. There we are. Okay, this is more important than audio editing, which is the sample rates. In YouTube, they will actually tell you what kind of bit rates you must have. This is more important. What happens is, if you stream and you don't follow these settings, YouTube will compress it and make it even worse. So when you are saving the audio from your editor, all you gotta do is follow your transmission system. This is why I didn't want to use Zoom, because if I use Zoom for this session, the compression was terrible. So I'd rather use YouTube or Twitch because the compression is not that bad. Okay, is there any questions? Yes, Wilmer, that is exactly right. Yep. So if there are no questions, I think I will just end this stream. The lights are getting in my eyeballs. They're burning my head, apparently. I thought today would be a cold day, but apparently it's not over here. So thank you all for coming. The stream will be up. It will encode and you'll record. If you want to watch this session again, just go ahead and watch it. I think I'll try to enable it for download. I'm not so sure what the format will be, but if I can't download it, I'll make a copy of this video and upload it again so that you can download it. All the software which are used is all available online. There are some plugins which I'm using right now which are not available for general use. You have to buy them. But I've turned it all off for this session. So I know that you can definitely do an entire stream totally free. All you got to do is buy the microphone and the relevant equipment to hold it together. Don't hold your microphone in your hand, no matter what. Don't do it. Do not do it. Causes trouble. Do not hold it in your hand. Okay. So anyway, thank you all for attending. I think we are 8 minutes early, and have fun with your microphone, and see you all next time. Signing out.